Alright, so I adjusted my camera, and what I want to show you here is there's these little tiny holes in, I guess you could say, the support rod. And if you look, you can see one right there, there's one right there, and then there's one right here. It's right there. You can't obviously see it. But what they do is they give you the pin, and me personally, I just use the small nut that they give you for the booms, and you can lock the maxer into position. So, for example, if you want, you could push it all the way forward, and I personally display it with the maxer all the way pushed in, because I just like it that way. I think that it looks good, and it also fits very well on my table. Sorry about that, I just had to fix the line, but I'll show you that in a second. I display it like this because I think that it looks well with the crane, also fits very well on my table. Now the maxer also has counterweights, as you could see, and I'm sorry if I'm calling it a maxer, it's just habit. And it has both the 5-ton weights, so these are the thin weights, and then the 4 10-ton weights. And I don't pin these in because I sometimes find it cool to put like you know, like 3 10-ton weights on the maxer. I think that it looks pretty cool, but for now I load it all the way because, you know, overall it just looks pretty cool like that. Now, anyway, going down to the bottom of the maxer, and this is a hard model to review, so bear with me here. You can see that each wheel is numbered, so you can see you have 1, you have 2, you have 3, and you have 4, obviously. And there's 4 actual tires on each axle, I guess you could say. And if we look at them, you can see that they do turn at 360. So if you want, you could crab walk it, or you could, you know, make it so it could turn or crawl forward. And I don't find mine changing too much because of one feature. And if you want to display it in a diorama, you could push down the jacks here. They are very strong, so you don't have to worry about it not holding it. They're so strong that I'm scared of them breaking when I push it down. But for now, you pretty much get the point. And there's one on the other side as well that I will show you. And I'm going to have to take off the weight here to show you the maxer in more detail. So I'm looking at it once again. This is where the pendant bar attaches, and the way that you do it is you put the little, like, it looks like a 5-foot pendant bar right here because it makes up for the weight. But before that, I want to show you what I find very cool, and it's like kind of like the catwalk for the maxer, and it's just really cool. All these handrails here are metal. They're very, very nicely made. I like them a lot. And even if you look, you can see that's textured here. And, you know, just overall, just really, really nice. And I very much like how they're metal. Unfortunately, the ladder to get up here isn't metal. And one of the mounts to hold the back of the ladder, so when you go up, the ladder doesn't fall in, broke off once again because it's plastic. It's really a shame that they made that plastic, but it is a pretty small piece, and I doubt that they could even cast that in metal. But another cool thing is right off the body of the crane, behind the A-frame, once again, there's more catwalks and handrails, which is very cool, and it gives it a really interesting and I guess you could say complex look. And once again, the fact that they're painted silver is very, very cool. So, going up near the A-frame now, and kind of going now to the mast, like I said that I would. And I'll have to move the crane back real quick just so I can fit it. So, now here is the A-frame right here. You can see there's just a ton of line over here. There's got to be probably 18-20 parts of line right there. And doesn't really want to move again with the drums. So the way that you want to set it up is, you know, really a way that you don't want to change it in the future. On the A-frame here, they have the self-assembly cylinder, and the way it just sits here is on this kind of plastic type of deal, and I wish they would fix that because it really isn't that good, as you can see. But that's just, you know, the way that they made it. Now, if you have the mast on, you need the stands for the mast as well, and that's what these cylinders do right here. The only problem I had when assembling this crane were these cylinders, and that's because the silver part wouldn't fit into the cylinder case. And because of that, I'm sure you could see right here, my cylinder cracked off. And, you know, I'm really happy that I don't really need them, but for show, it really doesn't look that good. It's not something that I would return because I already had the whole crane assembled and whatnot. It's really not a crucial part to the crane, but it's very disappointing when the whole crane went as smooth as possible during assembly and then the cylinders wouldn't fit. I even tried heating it up with a blow dryer to try to, you know, expand the metal. Still didn't work, and it's very disappointing. I was probably there for around 20 minutes trying to get it to work, and it just eventually snapped. And that really isn't, you know, that good. Another thing is that during the assembly, they don't give you a exact angle of where you should kind of, I guess you could say, hold the mast at. For example, like on a Manitowoc crane or something, they have the struts and they don't move in a cylinder, so you know that's the angle that they're supposed to be at. Once again, very disappointing, but, you know, it's like, it doesn't really affect it once you really have it up in the air, and you kind of look at pictures online to kind of judge it, but once again, it kind of is disappointing about it. Now, turning it to show you the mast, here is the heel of the mast, and the way that the mast mounts in is you actually have to unscrew the pin, the nut, and the bolt on the A-frame that holds onto the body. And the one way I would recommend doing this is unscrewing one side and then putting one side of the mast in, because even if that side isn't unscrewed, the mast is still a little wobbly and you could manage to do it. And I would say that because you don't want anything on the A-frame jumping. And I say that's the best way to do it. So I would just say do it like that. And once you have that in, you know, it's pretty much set from there. Now the new drum, once you have the A-frame, you know, locked into position, you have the mast on, to raise and lower the boom is right here. And that's why everybody likes it, because it's nice and easy to turn. And I'll even turn it in a second to show you. But, if I could get it in, and, you know, really easy. And it turns very well. And the way that the body one should be is the way that this one is. Now I'll turn it and I'll show you what it looks like, and then we'll go up to the top of the mast and then go to the boom, and that will conclude this review. I'm gonna hit a bump over here. Now, here's the drum to raise and lower the boom, and you can see the key fits in there very well, and this drum rolls very, very smoothly. And with a few twists, you could boom your whole crane up, and it works very well, even as the hydraulic line running down it. Now, going up to the top of the mast, and I'll have to hold the camera for this. Now, I want to say that each mast section is made extremely nicely, and I like it a lot. Overall, just a very well engineered piece. And here is the tip on the mast, and if we zoom in, we could see top of the mast, which then leads to the bridle. But I'll have to get my tripod, because there is one very important thing that I do want to show you guys on this. Alright, so this looks like a pretty good view. Now, one feature that I absolutely love is how you can float the maxer, or the wagon, whatever you prefer calling it. Now the way that you do that is from this right here, and if you look, these lines aren't tensioned at all, and they move within this threaded rod right here. And the way that you do it, or the best way that you could do it, is to hold it from the bottom here, and then screw this little thread right here. And what that does, as you can see, it's getting you know, it's tightening up, and you could actually tighten it up all the way. So if your boom is at a high angle, and then put it like that, and you can see there's a lot of tension in it. And if we bring the camera down, it will actually make the wagon come off the ground, and you could see that if I had the boom at a lower angle, but my boom's at the maximum angle, and you could see that from here. If I tighten up all the way to right there, you could spin the wheels freely. And I really like this feature because the real crane could do it. I think that it's just overall a great feature. I'm very, very happy that they included that in there, because it does work very well, especially when you do have a heavy load on the model and you you know, boom it down a little bit. Works very, very well. I really enjoy that feature, and it just, you know, really suits the model well. I really like that a lot. Now, going up to the bridle up here, you could see the way that you have to reeve it. Now, the good thing about the bridle is, as you could see it, there's these silver rods right there, and that's there so the line doesn't jump off it. And the very good thing is that the bridle has it, and the bridle actually has 4 of them. But the way that they want you to assemble it, and I'm sorry about the lighting here, but let me fix that. Alright, so it's a lot better view and it's a lot steadier. Now, the bridle here has 4 of those little pins, and I call them the anti-jump pins. As you can see, they're black, and I like that a lot because they match very well. Now, it has 4 of them. There's 2 on the ends right here, and then there's 2 right in that L shape. So right in that 90-degree angle, there's 2 more. For the reeving, I took those 2 out because it almost seemed like it was going to be completely impossible to reeve it with those in there. I was going to add them back, but to be honest, I really don't feel like there's a need for them in there. I feel like they could use them on the hook block instead or something, but I took them out. They're not in. I might eventually add them back, but, you know, really don't need it. Now, if you look, you can see the top of the mast kind of has these pockets right here. I'm unsure if you could put the bridle on there for disassembly. I feel like it's not going to fit, so I'm really not going to say too much about it. All the pendant lines that you see, pendant bars, whatever you would like to call them, are all metal, and they bolt in with those small nuts and bolts. And if we look at the boom head, I'm not going to spend too much time on the boom and the luffer because they're greatly engineered pieces, and you know, there's really not much to say about them. There are a lot of sheaves up here. I believe there's 9 or 10. It's a shame that they don't give you a larger hook block when you buy the model, because, you know, some collectors will actually take the jib off because you can only put this model with the luffer unless you modify it. And the way that you modify it is you drill out these 2 pins right here. So there's one right there, and then there's one right there, and you just pull it off, and you could put it with the boom only. I don't find myself drilling these out anytime soon because I feel like the model is just too nice to drill them out, but I could see myself in the future doing that. Looking at the boom sections, they're you know, probably the best out there. They're casted metal, so you don't have to worry about twisted brass sections. And overall, you know, once again, very, very nice. Looking at the A-frame, or the luffing masts, I should say, this is where the actual model, or the boom, starts to transition into yellow at the luffer. Luffing masts are extremely nicely built, and probably the best that I have on any model. And looking at them, I'll have to take the camera off. Metal sheaves, as you would expect on a current model today, and they just basically run up there. They're not very large luffing masts, as you could tell, but they get the job done. And the great thing about them is that this piece right here is a tie off, so you could tie off your thread right there. And over here, I mean, I don't have it exactly correct. As you could see, the luffing, this line isn't really on anything, and this should be going through that sheave, but really doesn't matter to me. But once again, it is incorrect. And the way that you run the line for the hook is through the luffing masts right here. And here's the jib, and you can see that the jib, the size of the sections are noticeably smaller. Now that's obvious because it's a jib and it needs to be a little bit more lightweight. But once again, all the sections are casted metal. They're all straight, and like every other part on the crane, they're held on by those small tiny nuts and bolts. And going up to the top of the jib, you could see that you have the wheel that you would use when you raise it. And yes, the wheel does roll. Both of them roll separately, which is also very nice. and the hook block, which is 5 sheaves, which is bigger than they give you on the normal crane if you buy it without the Derrick. And its hook block is very nice. It spins at 360 and it will come back and forth, and there's metal sheaves. Another thing, which I don't know if I should point it out, but there are 3 tie-offs on the top of the block. As you can see, I never use those. I use those little tabs up top, as you can see. And if we look down, you can see the boom sections again, and going down to the body. So I hope anybody that watches this did enjoy that review. I understand that it was very long, and I thank everybody who watched it, but as always, I really like to go in depth in my reviews to show everything, because there aren't too many people that do that anymore. Anyway, overall, 680 bucks I feel like is definitely worth it. First, it does sound a lot, but when you do get it, you know, you really do see that it's worth it. Also want to add in there that my model did not include 1 extra boom section and 1 extra section for the Luffer. So it could go to, I believe, which is around 6-7 feet. I just really can't fit it with the height in my room, because this is already on a table. But overall, just an insane model. Limited run, very nice colors, and once again, hope you enjoyed the review, and take care.